Let me make sure we're recording. Yeah, we're recording. All right, you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready, baby.
All right. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of The Ultra. Today we're on chapter 16 through 20, and we have with us Jeep Sullivan. We got you for 2 more days, and super excited to see you. Right off the bat, though, I just want to talk about something that has been really applicable to my life, Jeep, and that is these headphones. And I like to listen to music, and I like listening to just podcasts or books all the time.
So you're kind of nerdy, ain't you?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay.
I'm a little nerdy. Notice I'm not hunting out there. I'm in here making stuff. But, you know, these headphones, I have them on all the time. But I want to maybe talk about something spiritual headphones. And so when I say that, I'm talking about how we see in the Bible, there's this guy who just begins to shout at David, and it's this guy named Shimei Shimei. Yes.
There's a lot of funny names.
Yes, a lot of funny names, and Shimei probably chief among them. So he's shouting, you know, you shouldn't be king, and he's throwing rocks at him and picking on him and all that kind of stuff. And so David finally becomes king again, has the opportunity to get revenge on Shimei, but he doesn't. Yeah. And he offers him grace, and he shows him mercy. And he says, just go on about your life. And the reason I had these, and I want to talk about these, is because it's so important. And I believe, I'm just going to speak from a personal experience as a pastor, to have these and to be able to say, you know what, I'm tuning out when people say I've done a great job on a sermon, and I'm tuning out when people say you've completely blew the place up, because I've gotten both. I think that's probably a natural thing. But if you live for somebody's acceptance, you're going to die by their rejection. Yeah. And so when Shimei is throwing rocks at you, it's going to cut you, it's going to hurt you, you're just going to ruin your whole week, day, month, whatever. And when he's praising you, or when somebody's praising you, it's going to lift you up on the mountaintops. But I've had to learn that I have to run with spiritual earphones for the applause of one. And I got to look to God and not to people for success. Now, people sometimes give you good advice and help you validate. So there's wisdom in listening to people and getting feedback. Yeah. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying if my identity and what gets me up in the mornings comes from people's acceptance or rejection of me, I'm going to fail at the end of the day, because I have to. And me and you both have to. I think people in general have to understand that, man, when we wake up and put one foot in our pants leg, it's to glorify God and to do what He has called us to do. Yeah. So to live with these microphones. So what are you saying? I can't hear you. You know, it's such a big important. And so I take criticism with very lightly, and I take acceptance very lightly, because ultimately I'm trying to please God. And right or wrong, I think there's always a place to listen. But you know,
well, I think we need Shimei's in our lives. You know, whether you're listening to them or not, I think you need them in your life sometime, just to bring you back down to earth.
Very true.
And to help you,
very true,
you know, realize there are areas in your life you could do better.
Yes.
And, you know, and it gives you an opportunity to have grace and show mercy to people, because, I mean, I had a lot of that shown to me over the years. You know, I mean, I'm so easy to put my foot in my mouth.
Same.
Or to say something stupid.
Same.
Or say something cutting.
Yep.
You know, when I ought to just be more merciful and more gracious myself in the first place, and I wouldn't have to have, you know, a Shimei come into my life and say, you ding-a-ling, you know, why'd you say that?
Yep.
Or why'd you do that way?
Absolutely.
You know, or, like you said, the other way is somebody come in, you know, pat you on the back, and then you get all puffed up and your head swells up, and them headphones won't fit on your head.
Yeah.
And, you know, because it's too fat to put on your, you know. But, you know, when you think about our lives, you know, every day, every week, every month, every year, it's a growing process. And God uses both of those things, you know, those cutting things and those nice, you know, little pats on the back to grow us and to, knock a chunk off
Yep.
here or there,
Yep.
and to help us realize, we're just like David. If we're trying to be a man after God's own heart,
People are going to love us. People
That's
are going to
right.
hate
That's
us.
right. Yeah.
But you got to learn to
That's right.
live with both.
And as you do that, the Bible says, we speak the truth in love. Mm-hmm. And I know, I don't know about you, Drake, but it's easier for me to speak the truth in meanness. I know you're not like me in that. I know I've watched you and I see how you're so easy on people, and I want to just be, cut dry. That's the way it is. But the
I'm
more
like that preaching, and I probably shouldn't be.
well,
I feel like
probably not. I mean, people need to see both sides of that, probably. But as I look at my life, I need those people to show me. I need to act like that more. I need to be more merciful and more gracious, more calm, more peaceful.
yeah.
And not running, 110% all the time,
Yep.
everywhere I go.
Yep.
Because that's my schedule's kind of like that. And, as I...
It's kind of produce that.
It
makes
is,
you
it does.
I feel that.
And I know,
yes.
I'm not the only man, you're not the only guy that,
You're right.
feels that.
Yep.
There's a lot of really, self-made, just multi-millionaires and billionaires that I get to, deal with, in our ministry, and those guys have the same battles that I do. Whether you got $10 in the bank or 10 billion,
Yeah, very
and we all have them,
Yep.
and so we all need people around us to tell us the truth, and we need people to be merciful to
Absolutely.
us, and we need to be
That's
that way.
very good. That is
It's
absolutely.
important that we do that.
Well, let me change gears here
right.
for a real quick second. You got kids. Saying the obvious, I don't have any, so I want to maybe, for the audience even, to get some of your wisdom on child rearing, because what we see is it says that David never disciplined Absalom, even by asking him, why are you doing this or that?
Yeah.
I remember growing up, man, I got the fire belt. I was the worst kid. I mean, I got to spank every single day. So what is I'm not saying that's the answer, but what maybe that you've seen in your rearing a child, and I'm just going to tell you how I think. I think what we've seen more and more is parents want to be kids' friend. And I cannot tell you how many times I've had to sit down from a mama or a daddy and say, you cannot be their friend. Right now, you got to be their parent. Yes, you can love them, but right now you got to be a parent. Can you maybe speak to some parents struggling with maybe
I'm probably more black and white. I mean, this is right, this is wrong, and that's kind of how we taught our children. I got a son that's 30 and's a policeman. I got a daughter that's 31 and a mom, stay-at-home mom, and doing homeschooling and teaching her kids. And when I think about bringing them up and rearing them and teaching them things, I was probably more strict in places than I should have been. Could have been a little bit more loving in the way I said things or did things. But, they knew where I stood on things. They knew what I thought was,
right.
biblically based, right and wrong. And I think if you don't do that with your children, you're going to have a lot more problems with them in the long run than if you don't.
Yes.
And being a child's friend is very, very important. Hunting, fishing, going to whatever they're into, being part of their lives. I mean, you can't be too busy and miss that. And I didn't miss their that coming up in their lives. My son, he was like, I don't want to play football because it messes up, me being able to bow hunt. I'm like, yes, good. And then he didn't want to play baseball for a while, and he's like, I don't want to play baseball. This messes up turkey hunting.
Yeah.
I'm like, yes. I'm like, now that's what I'm talking about. But
it's finding a balance.
Yeah, it is, and you got to be able to discipline in a loving way, but sometimes that loving way has some
Consequences.
Yeah, some consequences. And that's what we told our kids was that, bad decisions bring consequences. Good decisions bring benefits.
Yes.
And you think about, even myself now, grown grandfather now.
Same thing is true for
Same
you.
thing.
Yes.
I make good decisions. I got some very good benefits in my life. I've made some really good decisions in my life following God, for 40-something years now. And I've made some bad decisions where I didn't follow him, or I was whatever it was to somebody, and I wish I'd have done differently.
Inputs have outcomes.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
always
that's
say
right.
that all
It's got
the
it.
time. Inputs have
But
outcomes.
when you look at David in here, those decisions he made not
Back
too
in
long
chapter
ago,
11.
back in chapter 11 with Bathsheba,
Yep.
that's where all this kind of come from.
Comes to
Because
the
he's got to look through that spot and scope and look at his life, and then he's like, well, dadgum, maybe this is what he thought. I messed up like this.
How can
I be too bad on my boys?
My son.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
Yes.
So the consequences of sin go generations
That's
if
deep.
you're not real
That's
careful.
deep. That's deep.
And
That's
because of the curses that come with sin are true.
So to acknowledge, hey son,
That's right.
I've messed up in this
Right,
area,
that's right.
and I'm just telling you, if you go down this area,
Yep.
this is where it leads. And to
Yeah,
acknowledge
and you don't want
that
to be
screwed up,
there.
and you don't want to be there,
Yeah.
and because I was there, and I'm trying to keep you with
Right.
everything I got from
Yep.
going there.
Yeah. And that's why I'm strict.
That's why I'm
strict
stricter.
sometimes.
That's why, yes.
Yeah, and that's why
Yes.
I say the things the way I do
Yes.
sometimes,
It's
which
coming
sometimes
out
are not
with love.
correct.
Right.
And
Yes.
God,
So good.
God teaches us, and God so many times in His Word tells us that you spare the rod, you're gonna spoil the child. You train up a child in the way
absolutely.
in this way right here, the way that we all should go.
Yep.
And it's going to be a better life
Yep.
for you and your family. And David didn't do that with his kids.
Nope. He sure
I mean,
didn't.
he had a whole lot of
He sure
troubles.
didn't. He
But
had a
God
lot.
told him that when that happened with Bathsheba, He said, "That's what's going to happen in your life, David."
And he did, of course, correct, because you look at the things that Solomon would write in Proverbs, which you
Yeah.
just quoted,
Yeah.
and Solomon says, look, David did this for me. He
Right.
raised me. He was my father. He did all
Yeah.
this. And so it's not too late. Maybe you have a child that's 30 and they're out of the house, or 20 or whatever, but you still have a child that's 10. Well, number one, just keep trying to do your best with a child that's 20 or 30. But hey, you got a fresh start with a kid that's 10.
Yeah.
And so don't make those same mistakes. Learn from them. But look,
right.
we are almost done. We got 5 more chapters to go. So we'll be here with you tomorrow for our last. Look, 1 Samuel and 2 Samuel are my favorite books.
I love them.
I love these books. It's so good. But we are almost coming to the end of them. Historical narrative. It's history. It's narrative. It points us to theology. It points us to God. How and what are you getting out of these chapters? I hope you leave that in the comments below. Gee, so glad to have you once again. And the Ultra.
Ultra.
We'll see you next time. Peace.